Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks provides unique mentoring opportunities to enhance your modeling skills by connecting with talented modelers and manufacturers from around the globe who generously share their knowledge and artistic expertise. Build your confidence, refine modeling techniques, and share your projects with a supportive community of fellow modelers, all while enjoying the world's most rewarding hobby. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Zoom and YouTube for our free live program. Missed a program? No problem. Individual show segments are uploaded to YouTube for convenient on-demand viewing. Be sure to connect with the New Tracks community by joining the New Tracks Facebook page, where you can interact with other modelers and see what they are modeling. Visit our website at www.newtracksmodeling.com, where you'll find information about upcoming events and the latest issue of our monthly newsletter, Observations. And now, here is the host of New Tracks Modeling, Tom Farrell.
Good evening and welcome to the show. First, I would like to thank Chris Horse, who offered to substitute for me this evening because I somehow picked up COVID this weekend. So my comments will be principally brief this evening. And before we begin here, I would like to feature our Brennan's Model Railroading, our sponsor for the show, and then I'll show the program.
Tonight's New Tracks Modeling Meetup is sponsored by Brennan's Model Railroading. For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products focused on the O-scale market. Their flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. The prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, Brennan's has developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Brennan's also has craftsman kits that anyone can build. The complete photographically illustrated instructions assume you've never done this before, and explain in step-by-step detail how to create an outstanding model. The Frank Ellison Tribute series of kits are amazing additions to any layout. These kits take Frank Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level using modern methods and materials with Dennis Brennan's additional details and amazing instructions. See the complete line of products on the Brennan's Model Railroading website. Use the QR code to visit.
Well, I want to thank Mr. Brennan for sponsoring the show and encourage other people to make donations. It doesn't really cost us a lot to produce the show, but there are expenses. We'll show you a little later how you can help. So I'd like to go over tonight's program, and then we'll start with our first segment. So Phil, there we go. So this evening, we have two new hosts. Punyet, which I've misspelled, Garg, from a company called WiFi Digital Command Control. This is an advanced DCC control that is easy to use, easy to install, and very economical. And they have a very wide product line, a very interesting website. This will be an interesting program for those of us that participate with DCC. Next up, we have another new presenter, Bruce Borden. He's from the Pacific Coast Region Convention. He's going to talk about the Pacific Coast Region Convention 2025 coming up in San Luis Obispo in March. If you're in the area, San Luis Obispo is a beautiful place. And this when you see the breadth of this conference, I think you're going to really find it fascinating. But even for those new track modelers that aren't in the California area or aren't willing to make the trek, they have an interesting program that Bruce is going to talk about online. It's very, very economical, very comprehensive. I'll let him get into that. Then we have our Martin Brechbiel, Scratch Builder's Corner. He has a new project, Donovan's Repair and Machine Shop. Martin is also our editor of our Observations newsletter, which has a circulation of over 8,000. And then the core of the show, Chris Course's MyBuild. These are our modelers' builds presented on typically a theme. This modelers' MyBuild program is probably it is one of the most popular programs we have on the show. And then we're going to close with Father Ron, and then our Caboose, which features an additional layout from the Pitsburg narrow gauge convention. And this is what we call the modular room. This was the room at the conference that featured multiple layouts from literally all over the country. So as my voice gives out, let's start with our first presenter. And since I misspelled it, how do you say that correctly? Piyush, is that correct?
Yes, so hello everyone. My name is Puneet Garg, and you will probably see Piyush there on the name because we are using our LocoFi account for this call. But thank you, Tom and Jim and everyone and all the team for this opportunity.
Right. If you can get right into it. So
awesome. Thank you. Thanks. Hello everyone. A very happy new year to everyone. Thank you again, Jim and Tom and team for giving us the opportunity. It's indeed an honor. So before I get into presenting anything on the screen, I'd like to talk about two things in general. Number one is our current emphasis on attending as many trade shows as possible, and just a kind of an update on that and how that's going. And then an update on our newest solutions for larger scales. So to start off, we've been getting a lot of interest lately, and partly it's because we've been doing a lot of shows. When we restarted this entire effort of attending trade shows after COVID, we were a little bit surprised to see that not many modelers, except of course our existing customers, had heard about us. So be it the smaller local shows or even the larger national shows, we found that customers were still kind of not very aware of our brand. So we decided to double down on shows, no matter the size, to bring about greater awareness at a grassroots level and from a bottoms-up perspective. So we certainly try to attend as many shows as possible, especially on the West Coast, because they are in kind of our driving distance, but even some larger ones in other parts of the country. And being out there on the ground has instilled a lot of confidence in modelers to see something in action and concretely. Some of the modelers may be skeptical with us only having a website and no physical presence with retailers, and that's understandable. However, the flip side to that is that there is no middleman involved, and we can pass on the savings to our customers when we sell direct. Anyways, we've been able to counter some of that skepticism with this physical presence at shows. Modelers come to us and say, hey, here's my smartphone. I scanned the QR code, I downloaded the app, and now what? Can I simply go ahead and run the trains now? And we say, yes, absolutely, yes, you can. And we are able to show it to them how. Then sometimes the next question is, hey, what next? Can I do, let's say, a consist? And of course, again, our answer is absolutely. And we show it to them how easy it is, almost like a single click consist. So I think what customers are, skeptics as well as the plain old curious, they are kind of able to see firsthand how simple as well as powerful LocoFi is, and how easily they are kind of able to relate how it can fit into their current DC layout, as an example. Like, hey, I could do this on my own DC layout. I always wanted to run, for example, multiple trains without any wiring hassles or any additional equipment. And LocoFi makes this possible. They are kind of able to make that connection. Not just that, one of the biggest kind of most enthusiastic group that we have in the shows are kids. For example, my 10-year-old nephew who loves to attend these train shows. Um, he loves to attend these train shows because he gets to run trains as well as his favorites, and he loves switching and things like that, and all of the like layout operations. So sometimes he'll even invite his friends over, especially if it's a local show and it's not a long drive. And within no time, that bunch is having a blast. And sometimes some of us older adults actually seem skeptical of like, hey, how can kids have so much fun? Because till now, the general perception is that model railroad control is very complicated and cumbersome and requires a lot of investment into understanding electronics and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a surprise for them that how can locomotive control be so much simple as well as fun. So I must say that we are pleased and proud that we are helping many such modelers bring back fun into their hobby so that you as artists and modelers can get back to modeling and not, mess with wires and equipment and stuff like that. The second thing I want to talk about is this opportunity with larger scales that we were kind of a little bit late to come to. We did get some questions initially when we rolled out the product, but we just didn't have enough resources at that stage to invest towards another product that would support larger currents, which are needed for larger scales. Um, and at that moment, at that time of our life cycle, we were kind of more invested in, we were really interested in investing each ounce of our energy and effort into building a robust and scalable platform, something that would be really kind of future proof, so to say. But I must admit that the love and support that our customers showed, um, that that was very critical in getting us to the point of rolling out products to support larger scales. Very early on, we had this one customer who was an electronics wizard. She designed around our circuit board that would amplify the motor current. She even published her design on our website. But obviously, it was not an average modeler thing. It was a little bit of an advanced modeler and technical thing. But then there was another gentleman from Finland who did a similar thing. He also published his design on our website, but both of them did not get a lot of traction and didn't get much noticed, or maybe the techniques were perceived as too technical. But then there was another gentleman by the name of Sam Walker, and he pushed us a lot. He probed us a lot. We got on a phone call with him because he wouldn't write emails and only wanted to speak to someone. So we got on the call with him. He asked us a lot of questions. We explained to him how we have the PWM outputs that drive the motor. He hung up, and in a couple of days, he purchased a module and informed us that he was going to solder our board, a couple of more wires and an additional third-party circuit. Then he comes back in a few days and saying that it sort of worked, but he might have destroyed the chip on our board. Well, we were impressed by his dedication. We asked him to send us the board and see what we could do. We obviously had all the tools and diagnostics to figure it out, and luckily the board wasn't damaged beyond repair. We were able to salvage it and kind of fix all of things nicely for him and send it back. And then we heard the good news from him that everything was working fine. And that was a turning point for us. He then went on to equip some more of his locomotives with LocoFi decoders in the larger scale. And not only that, he kind of egged us and encouraged us to start exposing those two wires and give flexibility to our customers to add on their motor drivers as per their requirements. And we agreed, why not? Let's run it at least as an experiment. And boy, it was such a pleasant surprise. We saw so much interest in larger scale. And since then, we've been providing plug and play solutions where we provide the entire package, including the additional circuit board, and we provide it to them pre-soldered. So they don't have to do that. We also added a larger speaker that gives awesome sound, which is appropriate for such larger scales. Now we are constantly getting requests to add more features, which we obviously love. And So people are asking for more features like extra light outputs, electric couplers, and uncoupling features, outputs for smoke detectors, and so on. And yes, rideable trains. And I feel really proud to say that yes, LocoFi is being used in human rideable trains now. Okay, so today I would let's get into the presentation quick. I really want to take a few minutes to walk the audience through our website. Like I said earlier, we sell direct, and as such, the website is a critical communication mechanism between us and our customers. We encourage all customers and the audience here to please certainly visit our website and find out how that is the best way to learn more about LocoFi as well as stay connected to us. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here. So visit us on WiFiModelRailroad.com, and right off the bat, you see that we start off with all of the critical communication right up front. So for example, this is one of the biggest updates that we have going right now. You might be aware that we kind of ran out of stock pretty fast. We had some uptick in our sales activity in late November or so. And then we kind of got into a little bit of a pickle where we had to order our next batch pretty quick, and we were expecting it by the end of January, and for the latest information we have, it might be getting delayed to the end of February. But the good news is that you can still pre-order. You can pre-order at a fairly competitive price because you don't know what the price might be later on. And another piece of good news is that we are also getting larger scale solution also being manufactured with this lot. So when we have that lot, we will also have more larger quantities of the larger scale products as well available. So anyways, coming back to the website, this is kind of our homepage, and right off the bat, there's a whole bunch of information in here, just giving you kind of an overview as well as some detail into what the technology is, more about the brand LocoFi, some quick videos, some more resources. But then I also encourage you to look at this learn section in the navigation bar there, where you can learn by going to LocoFi, where you can learn more about the technology itself, uh, how kind of LocoFi presents itself as a complete paradigm shift and a completely grounds up approach at model railroad control. Then we have a section on videos. There's lots of helpful videos here. And these videos, they span from, for example, little teasers about product updates to seeing it right in action, as well as kind of instruction videos where we are showing like how you can do installations and things like that, as well as walkthrough videos of walking through the app itself, which is our primary controller, and really the way where you can see a lot of the powerful features of our product manifest themselves, which is primarily through the app. Um, and then there is a section on our customer testimonials and interviews as well, so that you can kind of hear direct from our customers and how they feel about the product and about LocoFi and so on. So whole bunch of resources here. At the bottom, we also have our media coverage and how we have been showing in different media outlets, whether it be print or whether it be online. Um, so that's again something which should help customers kind of feel a little bit more comfortable with adopting LocoFi. Next in our learn section is our resources section, where there's a lot of kind of helpful resources like the quick start guide, a sound editing guide. We also have the locomotive configuration cheat sheet and a reference guide to consisting. You also have links to how you can download the app on either the Google Play Store or the Amazon Store. We have our other PDF resources like the technology brochure, the product brochure, where we have kind of a a very high level roadmap of what is to come. We also have our library of sounds, which is constantly growing, including diesel as well as steam sounds. And then we have this kind of knowledge base of all our updates that to the app that have happened in the past. And I would like to place a special plug here with regards to our app and in general the LocoFi platform, because with most other manufacturers, you would probably have to send in your decoder back to the manufacturer for any kind of major product update, if at all, or you would just simply have to purchase another product. But in our case, if the hardware supports it, i.e. the hardware decoder, then very likely any new feature updates that we roll out, we are able to roll them out as over-the-air updates because of the app. So, and this kind of provides that entire history of all the updates that we've had till now. And this includes major updates, things like consisting, things like Steam, which we were able to simply roll as over-the-air updates, and our customers got them for free. And then we also have a FAQ section on the Learn section. Next, I invite you to look at our product section, where you will see our entire line of decoders, including our flagship DU-LLHB, as well as our large-scale modification packages that I was talking about a few minutes ago. And then we also have some LocoFi series where we are selling some of our pre-installed modules, including train sets as well as some popular locomotives. This is especially helpful for people who are just starting out and don't want to mess around with soldering and just want to try out the product for themselves. Then there's an about section where about our team and our news and events, as well as a forum section where there's a helpful bunch of people, including existing customers, where actually anyone can join, including new customers as well as prospects. And really feel free to ask your questions. There's a helpful bunch of people here who can answer your questions. And lastly, before I move on to the final section, I very much encourage everyone to just go down at the bottom section here and provide your email address and sign up, because that's the easiest way for you to stay in touch with us, as well as for us to stay in touch with you, where we can provide you with all of our product updates, as well as things like any deals and special promos that might be going on, and so on. Okay.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes,
if it's a short one, I'll try to answer it right away.
Yep. On your screen right there, I'm seeing a picture of your decoder next to the penny with the speaker.
Yes.
Now, one thing that I was really interested in is the LocoFi 3. That is a decoder, a sound module, and a keep alive all together, correct?
Yes.
In one unit.
That is correct. So all the hardware is essentially this decoder itself and the speaker that you see. All of our decoders, they have the Wi-Fi chip on there, all of the controllers on board there, including the sounds which are loaded on this micro SD card that you see, which is played off through the speaker.
And I think it's important for everybody to look right below his cursor and see what the price is comparatively of other things in the market where you have to add things on. Another thing that I noticed is since your last appearance, the LocoFi 3 is not only Wi-Fi to where you can control it with your phone and tablet, but also you've got something that's very unique. I saw something about cab sound. Could you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a new feature that we added where so this sound is essentially to be able to give you the locomotive sounds, right? The speaker that you see here. But then at the same time, you as the operator would also like to see how it would sound like being inside the cab while you're running the locomotive, right? And that gets replicated on your controller, which in our case is your mobile device, whether it be the Android smartphone or the tablet or the Chrome OS laptop, depending on the form factor that you're comfortable with. And within all of those interfaces of the app, you can actually toggle on the cab sounds where, let's say, if you are switching the direction, it actually sounds like the lever that you are pulling to either go forward or backward. And similarly for the lights, if you're turning on and off, they actually sound like the switches within the insides of a cab.
So you're essentially getting two different sound systems that are synchronized because you'll even get a further delayed reaction from the locomotive when you step up the notches.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and it will even have a sound if we spill our coffee in the cab.
Uh, you could do that too, because like I was saying, all of our sounds, they are loaded on this micro SD card. And the beauty of that is that you can actually load your own sounds. Now, of course, we would expect that you would be loading the locomotive startup and idle sounds or the horn and bell sounds, but really that's not stopping you. You could really load anything you want. And some of our customers do that as well.
And I saw some tutorials on your website to help the average person to be able to do that with some basic equipment, basic computer equipment, and basic knowledge, correct?
Yes, absolutely. We do not have any proprietary kind of file formats on these sounds. It's the open format which
Open
is
source?
easily available, and not much computing is required for kind of to be able to edit it. Some basic, very basic sound editing, we can also help you with that. And if you are gracious enough to share your sounds with the rest of the world, we invite you to kind of send them over to us. We will host them on the website in the library here, as well as give you back an edited version of those so that you could load on your own cards.
Well, thank you for your time and thank you for answering my questions, because I know time's getting short for you, and I just thought it important for others to learn what I learned in the last couple of visits to your website. So I'm sorry I cut you short. You only got 4 minutes, but thank you.
Okay, awesome. I think 4 minutes should be plenty. I'm going to take a couple of minutes quickly to walk through something here. This is part of our flyer that we have been using at our shows, but I want to kind of focus on just this LocoFi exclusive section. And the reason I want to do that is because this is not something that anyone else provides in any of their products. And also it reflects the kind of grounds up approach that we had to this entire domain of wireless locomotive control. By that, what I mean is that it is based on what technology allows us to do today. That's what was the primary kind of driving force behind our design philosophy, and not something which is stuck in technology from 50 years ago. And then we are trying to kind of come up with a patchwork of technologies which provides a bridge into modern expectations of customers. So, so for example, 1000 speed steps, right? A very super fine speed control, or multiple speed profiles that you can select at with a simple click, right? And by speed profiles, I mean, for example, you could have one profile for your home layout, which might be DC. And since our solution is power agnostic, that same locomotive, it would run on your DCC layout, which you might have at the club, right? And you could come up with different profiles for each one of those layouts, and it would be as easy as picking that locomotive, placing it on the respective layout, selecting the appropriate profile, and you're good to go. Similarly, this accuracy of scale speed. So the speedometer that you see on our app, that will actually reflect the exact appropriate scale speed depending on the scale that you're operating on. Again, another industry first. Auto speed matching, auto shuff sync, emergency stop, that's activation pressure trigger. Now this is again is representative where we are actually utilizing the technology and features that the most powerful things, these little computers that we carry in our pockets, right? Uh, where like pressure sensitive technology, we are utilizing that to be able to implement some of these features like emergency stop. Then auto step on connection loss, lock loco. Now these are just table stakes features that have to be present in any wireless solution. Not only that, we are also utilizing things like haptic feedback, which is available in almost any kind of mobile device these days.
Yep.
Okay, I think I'm at, yes, please go ahead.
I was going to say it's just a great technology, and yep, I would encourage our viewers to try one of these. I mean, you really are on the leading edge of digital encoders for dead rail, for DCC, for DC. I'm amazed at all the different technologies that you're offering that nobody's offering. And the only way to really understand exactly how much ahead of the curve you are is for somebody to just take a rider and try one of these.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
I would encourage all you encoder people, all you dead rail people, give it a shot. He looks like he's got the miniaturization and the technology and the support. I want to thank you for being on the program this evening.
Thank you very much. And thanks again for the opportunity. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions in the remaining couple of minutes, I can take any.
Are there any quick questions for him? Okay. Thank you again.
Thanks. And before I leave off, I just want to say last but certainly not the least, we are very proud to be supporters of your new Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship. We really support that effort, and it has become a staple kind of now in our shows. We always carry this kind of this display with us
Thank you.
to showcase our association with you. And yeah, thanks again for this opportunity.
Well, we'll have you back. That was really fascinating. We can focus on a couple technologies next time. But excellent product, great presentation. Thank you for being on the show. Before we go to the next presentation, we want to be able to talk with COVID. That's what I want to do. Before we go to the next segment, we have a couple videos to run.
Does it seem like eternity waiting for the next Wednesday night and a new Tracks event? Now there is hope. The new Tracks Modeling Facebook page gets you into the new Tracks community 24/7. Post, respond, and converse with over 1,200 avid model railroaders on Facebook. Show your modeling, ask questions and help others. Join now, it is free and easy. Use the link or QR code to open the Facebook page.
Next up, we have Bruce Morden. He's going to tell us about the Pacific Coast Region Convention coming up this March 27th through the 30th in San Luis Obispo, a beautiful part of California, as far as I know, untouched by fires at the moment. Bruce, if you're on.
I am. How do you would you like me to just charge ahead? So the Pacific Coast region was actually the first region within the NMRA years and years ago. It was split into two regions later on. So the Pacific Southwest region in Southern California, Los Angeles and Arizona, San Diego, they split off from us. But we still have 4 divisions within our region, and we rotate our regional convention every year. And so this year, the Pacific Coast region will be hosted by the Daylight Division, and we've called it the Daylight Limited. As Tom mentioned, we're going to hold it in San Luis Obispo. San Luis Obispo is near the coast, only about 20 miles from the Pacific Ocean. They have been getting rain up there, so their hills are a little greener than farther south in Los Angeles area. A beautiful part of the country and a lot of railroad history. The Southern Pacific, when it first started, well, there's 2 things that happened. The Southern Pacific is part of that Central Pacific, Union Pacific transcontinental. But once they had that going, they wanted to do another transcontinental across the southern part of the country. And they did through Texas, Arizona, and Mexico and Texas, down to Louisiana. In fact, they had a steamship line that went all the way to New York from New Orleans. But the coastline was their premier passenger run because it runs right along the Pacific Ocean, and it's just really beautiful. The Amtrak still runs along there, and we're going to take advantage of that Amtrak train as part of our convention. I'm going to talk a little bit about our webpage and the in-person convention, but then I want to finish up with our virtual convention because we think there's always an opportunity for people who can't travel and still want to enjoy what we're trying to offer. And I think the biggest thing that we're offering is a place for model railroaders along the West Coast to gather and to fellowship, to share modeling skills. And that's what we're offering at this convention. We've got a lot of things going as a normal convention. We've got clinics. We've got 3 days worth of clinics. We are doing something that we have tried out here on the West Coast, and I think it's going to work, is that we have clinics in the morning and we have clinics in the evening. And the middle of the day, we've set aside for all the other activities. So we have excursions during the middle of the day, we have layout tours during the middle of the day, and we have operating sessions in the middle of the day. So all that time period between about noon and 6 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening, is all devoted to those outside activities away from the convention. The clinics, we have, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but the virtual convention, we've got a team that is doing a great job. And they helped us with the national convention in 2021 when everybody, not just Tom, but everybody had COVID and we couldn't meet in person. And so our whole national convention was virtual. And so we've learned how to do virtual conventions out here on the West Coast. So it's not just talking heads. It's not just the clinics. You get to go to the layout tours. You get to see some of the operating layouts. You get to even go on some of the excursions. So all that's going to be included in the virtual convention. So it's not just for those who come, although we really would welcome all of you. The best thing for me to say is that we're looking at the convention webpage right now, and it's real easy to get to. You just go to pcr2025.org and you're there. Once you get there, you can move around. You see all these tabs that we've got up top, and you can go and see what the clinics are. We've got a whole listing of clinics, and they are clinics on modeling clinics, operations clinics, designing your layouts. We've got some history clinics that talk about the railroads in the general area. And like I said, they're clinics by some of the people that are experts in their field and are going to be presenting great clinics. The
Hey,
layout,
Bruce, Tom
yes,
Farrell. Tell our audience, not everybody's going to be able to fly out to California, obviously. Tell them which things they could participate virtual.
So the clinics are listed here on our clinics tab, but we've got 3 clinic rooms, and one of the clinic rooms is devoted to the virtual attendees. So you'll see 1/3 of the clinics that we are presenting. And we have already decided which ones those are. I don't think it's up on the web page yet, but it will be soon. If you click on the schedule, we'll have the actual schedule of the convention on the page. So if I go to Thursday, should be able to see the schedule, but right now all we're going to see is a block that says clinic. Eventually, within the next probably couple days, because we've got it all set up and ready to go.
So, so Bruce, it's my understanding that not only some of the clinics, but some of the layout tours will all be available virtually.
That's correct.
So, and the cost is relatively low. I think, what did you say the cost was to do the virtual layouts and the virtual clinics?
So we were going to charge $40 for the virtual attendees. And right now there's a discount on for $10. So for $30, you get to attend all 3 days of clinics. I'm pretty sure that they're actually going to have coverage of the welcome reception. And I know they're going to have coverage of the award and contest winners on Sunday when we're gathering together there. So you'll basically get 3 full days of clinics plus those 2 things on either side. Plus you're going to get to see some of the layout tours. You know what? Let's go back from where I was, because this doesn't really show you much. But what I'm saying is if you go to the schedule, you'll be able to see which clinics are going to be on the virtual. We do have excursions, and the excursions are obviously in person, but we have one of the excursions, we're going to the Bitter Creek Western Railroad and the Norgrove Railway. And our virtual team has already been there and filmed it. So you'll be able to go on that excursion from home. It won't be quite the same as riding behind a 600 millimeter South African steam engine, but you'll be at the location and see all the workshop and everything that's there. So there are not only the clinics, but the excursions and the layout tours, the operating sessions. We're going to have a Fremo layout at the convention, and they're going to be taking their cameras into the Fremo layout and showing them that. So all that's going to be included, and the contest room. So they'll be in there as well. So all this, most of this is on the web page. So if you just go, like I said, to pcr2025.org, you can get to the web page and click on any of the links up here on the top. Now I think I've got 3 more slides, so if they can be put up on the screen, we'll talk about that real fast, and then if there are any questions, we'll be all set. If Phil can put the slides up for me.
Yeah. Or not. There we go.
Thank you, Phil. So it is a hybrid event, both in person and virtual. And as I keep telling you that if you go to pcr2025.org, you can get to the webpage. And you can register right on the webpage. Everything's nice and simple. If you're going to attend virtually, make sure you choose the virtual registration. There's a in-person and virtual. It's pretty obvious on the webpage. Just click on that and you're in. If we can go to the next page, these are the things that we're going to be providing for the virtual attendees. So you're going to get 10 hours of content every day, not just the clinics, but like I said, contest room tour, the modular layout tour, some excursion videos, and it's all there. One more slide, Phil. So all you have to do is register, and if you use the discount code PCR2025, when you register virtually, instead of $40, you'll get $10 off. It'll be $30 for all 3 days, all the extras that we talked about. And you should have a really good time at the convention. Oh, I should make another note that if you do sign up virtually, you will have about a month worth of going back and looking at clinics that maybe you missed. So you'll be able to access all that information after the convention is over for about a month.
That $30 is obviously an excellent value, particularly with all the different things you can see for a 30-day period. You've got my vote. I'll be participating. Excellent presentation, Bruce. And I'm very happy that you're on our show this evening. And we'll continue to plug your convention up until the day that it occurs.
Yes, maybe next week on New Tracks, we can get somebody that looks a lot better than I do, and who is one of our virtual convention team. Sydney Abaticola is really good at keeping the virtual program going, and she just couldn't make it today, so she sent the chairman of the convention in instead.
Well, we appreciate your time this evening.
Sure.
And thank you for the next time I'm in Goleta visiting my in-laws, which I actually do. I'll look you up.
If there's any other questions, I'm here, but I think we're about a minute over my time.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. Bill, if we could, I'd like to, before we do the next segment, feature our observations newsletter.
If I could find the video, I would. Go ahead with Martin. We'll run it afterwards.
Next up, we have Martin Brechbiel. He does our Scratch Builders Corner, and his wit, wisdom, and skill are unmatched. And he's gonna do a new program, Donovan's Repair and Machine Shop. So let's switch to Martin. Bill, as my voice fades out.
Are you sure now?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's see if we can get ourselves going here. Yes, looks like it's working, at least at my end. I don't know about what at your end's doing. Agent Cooper's here tonight with us too, getting down to the tunes. So, yeah, it's going to be one of those nights. So we're going to do another structure. And when I do structures, it's generally because I have a pile of leftover stuff or stuff that I just want to make it go away. And I found the best way to make things go away is to build something with them. Otherwise, they just gather dust. I don't like many of us. So we got some Grant Line stuff. I got a chimney casting. I've got milled clapboard. I've got enough milled clapboard to outfit 3 or 4 hobby shops because I used to buy it in bulk. But someday I'll get rid of it all. But you know, just to give you a scale, there's where we're going. We have some inspiration there. And you know, in a bin by the one work table, in a stack of bins, actually, there are a couple of Crow River products bags and some Wiseman bags. And this is stuff, it's just been sitting around gathering dust. So I thought, well, we'll put this to work somehow. And I say somehow because I frequently have no idea where I'm going with when I start a project. I have a vague idea somewhere in the crevices of my mind, and things come crawling out and write themselves down, and I say, oh, that's what I'm building. And I usually know where I'm going about a third of the way into it, and some idea where I'm going to end up towards the end. So plans are a luxury. So they lay out 4 walls. I had some fairly wide clapboard. Somebody's calling me on the phone in the distance because I can hear the Court of the Crimson King playing. They'll just have to leave a message. I'm busy. So there's some walls laid out, front, back, left, right. And we open up those walls for some doors and windows. We've added some mounting cleats to the sides on the bottom, some 3/32 corners, the front and back walls, and some miscellaneous at the back of the front wall there to act as a cleat, but also to give me something to lay a door in on top of. So rough out some doors. So much for Grant Line doors. I did the door framing. It'll get used in something else instead of this. I thought I was going to use it. I didn't. I decided not to. I'm just going to build my own doors and framing. Building a door is easy. It's just 32nd basswood, cut to the shape, and then you overlay it with whatever you want to make the door. I wanted a 5-6 panel door, whatever I want. It's just strip wood glued onto some 1/32 basswood. Same story with the scribe siding door. It's just 1/32 scribe siding. You overlay it with a little bit of strip wood. Now it's a door. Fairly simple. Okay, back wall. Well, the back wall door here is going to be a large door, obviously. We've got it framed out. Piece of scribe siding that's supported from the inside. And this is going to be 2 doors, though actually not true. It's going to be 3 doors. And so you see we have actually a door inside a door of 2 doors. And so there's actually 3 here. Once I get all the hinges in place, and you'll see how it works. But again, this is just scribe siding overlaid with strip wood. Cut it and fit it in place. A little bit of glue on the back of it, a little discrete amount of carpenter's glue, tweezers and all. Cut it and drop it into place. I generally don't even measure this stuff. I measure it as to where it's going to go and cut it to actually fit the space. And hopefully it fits the first time. If it doesn't, that's what sandpaper is on a stick. It works fairly well. Okay, this back window wasn't in the first slide at all. This is some sort of side-by-side window from Grant Line. I had an extra one laying about, and I wanted a shutter over the top of it. And to do that is, again, scribe siding. It's just, this is 16th-inch scribe siding, but a piece of wood glued to the frame of the window, some brass stock. I think that's 15 by 60 thousandths brass. Bend it to an angle, glue that all on together, and now we have a window unit that fits in that space. Gluing metal to wood can be tricky. I'm almost always using a little bit of goo on the wood, a little bit of CA on the metal, stick them together. They have a little party and they never come apart again. Which is particularly important in this case because there's very, very little holding that together, the brass and the wood above the window. So it's kind of, you would think it'd be kind of fragile. Well, not anymore. I dropped this several times, knocked it out of the hole several times. It doesn't fall apart. It's just sitting there with friction holding it right now. Because I'm going to pre-paint these before I put them in place. Okay, we go around front. Got the front doors installed. There's just that piece of balsa at the base. It's the mounting cleat holding it up at the bottom, and there's a little cleat at the top to support the door. They're just laid in place. I'm going to come back and put doorknobs and what have you on there later. No rush right now to do this. And since we have shutters, one big shutter in the back, I thought, well, let's add shutters for the other windows. So there's a window here. I'll open some holes up on the side walls, and we'll add some more windows. Gotta get rid of those Grant Line windows somehow. So this is just scribe siding with some strip wood glued on top of it. It's a great way to get rid of scraps. I have a pair of scrap wood boxes for strip wood and a third one for flat stock. I'm always trying to get rid of stuff out of the 3. I've actually got a Tupperware tub of scribe siding, both thicknesses. So there's a bunch of scrap boxes I just keep and periodically dump them into one big box and take them to an O-scale show and sell the scrap. It's amazing what people will pay you for your scrap that you're throwing away. But it makes me space so I can fill up the boxes again. And we're going to stop here until next week, and we'll start putting this all together, putting a roof on it, details, etc. Maybe we'll finish it this month. Maybe we'll finish it in February. I don't know how many slides I have. It could be either. Time is kind of fluctual like that. So, thank you. And if there's any questions, now's the time to scream them out.
Do you have any idea what you're going to do for the roof yet? Or like me, do you just wait step by step and see what happens?
It's an adventure.
Yeah.
It comes down to looking in the box of roofing and saying, what needs to go away?
That's exactly how I do it.
Honestly, it's sitting over here on my one table, and looks like it is going to be some form of tar paper. Very elegant, tar paper.
Yeah. Well, it's always exciting to see how they begin, middle, and end. Very interesting.
In lieu of a video, why don't you guys talk for a moment about the newsletter here?
Oh, great. We're going to talk about the newsletter. The February newsletter is resting quietly at the moment on my desktop on my computer. It's a mere 50 pages, plus or minus 3 that I'm waiting to hear back from on Tom as to what I'm doing with those 3. But the rest of it, as far as I know, is about 99% complete. It goes out to the proofreaders and Tom for one last pass, and then I'm going to start working on March. And so if you want something in the newsletter, send it to me now. It's never too early to send it to me. I'll just put it in the March folder, and as soon as I start working on it, I'll start assembling that issue. So never.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Anything else?
I wanted to thank you for not only your presentations on New Tracks Live, but putting together the newsletter every month is another chunk of work, and we appreciate that. And for our vendors that are out there listening, we do sell advertising in the newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter. It has a circulation of 8,000, which is higher than a lot of the railroad magazines, actually. And our rates are $125 for a monthly ad that runs for a 6-month period, $250 a year. So it's a relative bargain compared to the publishers who charge hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And I just encourage you to support News Tracks. Nobody's trying to get rich over here, but there are some little costs here and there. And also, we welcome submissions to the Observations newsletter. If you are reluctant to go live on our show, feel uncomfortable going live, this might be an outlet that you can explore to show your creative work. I believe Matt Woods, he started out that way. He's a world-class modeler. I think I saw his work first in Observations and then on our live show. At any rate, take a stab at it. It can only be a matter of taking a couple of snapshots, half a dozen photographs, putting captions on them. You don't need to write a novel. But this is a contributory program. I know that we have regulars, but we'd really like to broaden the base. Next up, we have one of our most popular programs, the MyBuild. The MyBuild is put on by Chris Course. Speaking of a great deal of work.
Welcome to the world of scale, O&S railroading. We are your resource for all O&S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
So Model Resource is our sponsor for Chris Course's MyBuild. So, Chris, are you there?
Thanks, Tom.
There you go.
All right, we're going to go to the share screen here. Didn't mean to start off, Bob, sorry. I think actually we are going back to Martin. All right. Give it a second here. All right, tonight's MyBuild is featuring you. It's January 22nd, 2025. Tonight, there is no theme, so whatever you guys sent to me, I went ahead and put into a slideshow. So we have, looks like 5 presenters tonight. So without further ado, I'm your host, Chris Course, and my sidekick, Greg Cassidy. I'll introduce him because he occasionally throws in a bunch of questions. You up there, Greg?
Yes, I am. But
All righty.
I had to unmute and my hand was rubbing my eye.
Caught you off guard. All right. First up, we'll go to Martin.
Oh,
You're back already, Martin. You just can't escape.
Seems like it never ends.
Yeah. Looks like you got 7 slides tonight.
Right. Okay. A pair of wooden tanks on a flat car. The standard ubiquitous flat car out of my catalog of cars, which there's only a few thousand now. Just some plumbing underneath of some sticks of wood and some scribe siding and some cradles, some brass bits, and you have a tank car, an old-time tank car. It's somewhat reminiscent of the old vinegar car, the Richter vinegar car. It's only different. Let's take a look at the other view. Is there another view of this from the other side?
You've got
there it is, the cleaner side. And, just some brass wire for some handrails and steps. Those stirrup steps are actually kind of the most fun thing to do on this because they're actually a little bit heavier gauge wire that were bent to shape and then had an extra rung soldered into them and holes punched in the side and jammed into the side sill. So I decided I'm going to be too cheap to even buy and use stirrup steps. I'm going to just grab some wire and make my own for once. I think I had some extra 40 thousandths wire and a nice clean single tank version on basically the same tank car, the same flat car, give or take a little bit. But I obviously painted and lettered this one, and I'm going to keep this one because I even lettered it for my own railroad. But God knows if the Cumberland Valley ever had such a thing. Almost certainly not. But what the heck? On my layout, it does. So a longer piece of plumbing, some more longer pieces of wood, some brass for a dome, and a lot of miscellaneous stuff. It looks like it's popped the band. That's unfortunate. Hopefully it doesn't leak. God knows what's inside that. Probably some noxious liquid. Yes, there we are. And some panel on the back, on the end, so perhaps some mystery hatch. to let the whatever escape.
The view into the world of Martin.
Yeah, well, we're having fun. If we're not having fun, we're in the wrong hobby.
Mhm.
Is there another slide or not?
Mhm.
Oh, no, it's the other side. We've got a round hatch this end. Obviously, the one you open to stick your arm through because it's round. Brake wheel and whatever supports. Nothing too fancy here. Yeah, my dry transfers didn't quite 100% transfer on this side. It's hard to get those now. When they're, I had these custom printed and they're not working very well. Their lifespan is apparently coming to a close. Anywho, good enough for this. I'll come back and weather it someday when I'm feeling adventurous and want to ruin a perfectly good paint job. And oh, there, you can see the top of the hatch. I even put a hinge on it. Somewhere I found a little hinge. It fits right on there.
Yeah, it looks like a little teachy.
Um,
Got a bunch of them sitting right here.
Actually, I think it's a Grant Line one.
Oh.
But I can't take it off and look underneath and see what the name is tattooed on underneath of it. So it's whatever we say it is. For all I know, it could be a brass U.S. Hobbies one that I soldered on there, but I don't think so. It's too neatly done for me to be for my soldering work. So I hope we're done.
I guess that was it.
I can escape now and go get myself a cup of tea while Greg talks.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for sharing, Martin. Does anybody have any questions for Martin? All right. It's always an adventure, Martin. Thank you for sharing. And next up is Greg. You've got looks like 7 slides.
Well, first I want to say those are beautiful cars, Martin. I wish I could scratch build stuff like he does. He just
you can
pops it out.
You can.
All right. Well, let's see what kits I managed to put together.
All right.
Okay. This is a Pola Schaefer brewery, and I had not planned on building this one, but our club takes in donations to sell at train shows. And this came in with a donation. And when I opened the box, all of the parts were in there. They were already off the sprue. And there was really no way to tell if all the parts were there or not. And I said, well, we can sell it at the show as a box of parts for maybe a couple bucks, or I can build it and see if everything's there and then maybe get a few more bucks for it. So I chose that route because, well, I like to build. So this is the Polish Schaefer Brewery. Next slide.
Yeah, I think this is the one that Bill Freeland gave.
Yeah, along with some other HO stuff, which was all put together. So now, one of the interesting things about putting this together is this brewery, this one is made by Pola, and it was marketed under 4 different names. It was also offered under the name of AHM, which was the first company that put it out. It was also marketed by Model Power and by Tyco, and Pola made all of the castings for all of those versions. They're all based on a design by E.L. Moore, who was a rampant model builder and author back in the 50s and 60s. And quite a few of the kits that probably all of us have built when we were starting out were based on his designs. So this is one side of it. This thing goes back to the days of when the horses would pull the wagons, and one side would be on the rails, presumably this side, and the other side would be where they pulled up the horses. And you'll see that in another slide. Have we got another one?
Yep.
Okay, so on this side, this is where the horses, and they might have been Clydesdales, I don't know, would pull up. On the left is where all of the kegs would be stored after they brewed the beer, and I guess they let it age. And over on the right was actually a trough where the horses were supposed to get their dinner after a hard day's work. Not that you would know it from the instructions. The different manufacturers AHM, Model Power, Tyco, Pola, had all the same drawing, but different level of instructions that went with the drawings. This one that I happened to get had 2 drawings, and that was it. And they were both of the same side, which was the other side. So this side, in order to figure out where some stuff went, I went online and looked at built photos of other ones just to see what went where. And I managed to figure it out well enough. I only had a few little parts left over, so I just saved them. Next one. And here you can see the horse trough, and I suppose the horse handlers met in that brick building on the end there. And then you had the main brewery. Now, the interesting thing, when this was put out by some of the other makers, it was, in addition to the Schaefer brewery, it was also a Lowenbrau brewery and a Budweiser brewery, depending on which brand was putting out the kit. Now, maybe the brewery just changed hands, or the manufacturers just didn't care. It was whoever they were able to get licensed from when they were issuing it. But it's all together now, and hopefully we can get maybe $10 at the show, and that'll be a lot better than a buck or two for a box of parts. Next slide.
You can get more than that for that. Probably get 20 or 30.
Well, we'll see what we can get. We'll take whatever we can get. We always do. Now this is an N-scale kit, which is for our club's portable N-scale layout. And as you can see by the box, it's by Motrack Models, who he very kindly donated this to our N-scale layout. Again, our club, in addition to selling donations, we have a scholarship fund very similar to New Tracks, except it's only in the state of Maryland. But we often have a separate table with our banner, and we have the portable N-scale layout on the table. And I put a number of buildings on it. And now this one is in the middle of being built, and I'm just about done with it now. These pictures were taken about a week ago. If you can go to the next one. And this shows it up on its footings after I had finished with the structure and just had to do the platform. What I hadn't realized was I was building it per the instructions, which were taking into account that it was sitting in a yard where the track would be flat on the ground. But unfortunately, on our layout, all of the track, including in the yard, is on raised cork bed. So after I built this, I said, that's about a 1/4 inch too low. So I had to come along and put basically a brick foundation underneath all those supports to raise it up. And at least I found that out before I put all the legs on the loading dock. So I didn't have to raise all them as well. I just had to cut them a little bit longer. Next slide.
All right, looks like this is the last one.
All right. And if you ever want a test of how steady your hand is, do diamond shingles in N scale.
Really?
They came out okay. I wished I had done the shading on them before I put them on more vertically than horizontally, but that's the way it came out. But they work, and I now have the foundation done. I have the platform done, and I've just been finishing up a couple little details on it. And then it'll be ready to go on our portable layout next time we're set it up at Timonium. It was a nice kit to build, but I think I'm done with my forays into N scale. This is now my 8th N scale kit. 6 of them were wood and 2 were plastic, and that should be enough for anyone. So that's it, Chris. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Greg. Are there any questions for Greg before we move on? All right, I guess not. So, Greg, thanks for sharing, and I'll see you in what, about a week and change. So,
yes, sir. Don't catch anything up in Amherst, so you can come
no
back
kidding.
to Timonium.
All righty. Next up, I don't know if Bob was going to be able to make it tonight. He didn't think he was going to, so I'll give him the opportunity. Bob, are you up? All right. So, yeah, Bob had something to do after he sent the slides to me, but he's like, here's what they are. So basically, this is the gist of it. He has a limited run kit of Rickety Cove. Apparently getting it from the Canadian Post Office was quite a challenge because it got lost. It had a wrong postal code or something on it. And so he said that was quite an adventure just getting it. So he sent some photos. It's not complete, but these are some neat little buildings that all pile into this little wharf scene. So there's a couple. I think there's a few more, and I believe this is HO scale. And there's some more, and that's the last slide. So thanks for sharing, Bob, and hope everything's okay at home. And we will. Does anybody have anything to add to this?
I wonder if they're N scale.
They kind of look that way, but Bob usually does HO. Actually,
Farm Mills only did their limited run kits in HO.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
It was last Christmas's set that they put together. Rickety Cove is.
Yeah. Alrighty, so now we'll move on to Jeff Jordan. Jeff, are you up?
I'm here, Chris.
All righty. First of all, this picture, I saw it in Shortline and Narrow Gauge Gazette. So I want to congratulate you for getting that photo in there.
Thank you.
All righty. So it looks like you have two slides. Well, one is the photo, and then the other
one is the
your
prototype,
video.
and then my interpretation. Now, this is Ophir, Colorado, as it appeared in the day when the Rio Grande Southern ran through there. Today, virtually none of this exists except the building on the left-hand side is still there, but the road is up at the level of the second-story windows. So it's quite a different site today, but this is classic location on the Rio Grande Southern. And as I've mentioned in the past, one of the things I'm doing with my modest size layout is creating little vignettes of sites along the Rio Grande Southern. And though my geography doesn't quite match the prototype, the next slide, which is actually a short video, shows my interpretation of the site. And there is an assortment of structures in place and one about to be replaced. Up on the right there, that's one of my oldest ones. That's a Dills Market with a couple little features added, including, you can barely see on the right, a coin-operated ride-on horse. And then on the left-hand side at the top, the market there, you've seen that's the one I scratched built and actually stands in Fort Valley, Virginia, but it's been transported to Colorado. And then in the background is the Ophir or Oilton Club, the building that still stands and is a out of production Bantam models kit. And what really got me started on this particular scene was when I discovered that kit secondhand and was able to put it together and then readjust everything to work around that structure. And you can barely see that there is in the works a tram tower and tram unloader in the extreme background right in front of the train. The scenery, as I've said for some time, I've been promising to actually get some scenery on my layout. And this was as far as I got before the weather turned nasty and I had to spend too much time on farm responsibilities and the like. The camera has kind of flattened out the view a little bit. The buildings are actually on 4 different levels. The handcar house in the front is all the way down on the bottom. Dills Market is a little bit higher. The St. David's Market on the left is higher. And then the Oilton Club is even higher yet. Combination of styrofoam support and then a combination of Sculptamold and Moldacine, which is Woodland Scenic's equivalent of Sculptamold, though I find it has a little bit more texture. And so I used them both, using the Moldacine where I wanted a rougher texture and using the Sculptamold where I wanted a smoother texture. If you're familiar with Moldacine, it actually comes pre-tinted in a light brown shade, which I rather liked. And what I did is I made a little a sample of it, let it dry good and hard. And I took it down to Lowe's and said, can you match this? And they said, sure. And they scanned it and gave me a can of paint that was the same color. So all the scenery could be the same color and deal with the white Sculptamold. Of course, this is now waiting for ballast, brushes, weeds, grass, trees. But at least there's some real estate there now, and it's not all flat. Indeed, you can see how high the Oilton Club sits above the train in the background. And the view block there will ultimately be mountainside behind the Oilton Club. And then you go around the corner there, and you're into the next vignette. My photographic background is now installed as well. But that's my progress. And I was really happy with how the scenery was coming along when weather caused me to have to go and work on other things. So once things temper a bit, the next step is to get in here. I have all the scenic material sitting, waiting to be put in place, including from last summer, the trip that I took to Colorado. My wife was good enough to drive down the San Juan Skyway and let me watch the whole way. It was a couple-hour drive. And at one point I told her, see that? Pull over, pull over. And there was just a little pullover on the side of the road. And she said, what is it? What do you want? I said, the stone is decaying. I'm getting out with some plastic bags. And I came home with several bags of decayed sandstone and granite from along the right of way of the railroad. And that will go onto this scene. So I will actually have a little piece of Colorado in this scene.
Cool. Ready for the video?
Yeah, let it run.
All right.
One of my favorite Bachmann locomotives, heavily weathered Bachmann cars, and a brakeman up on the roof.
Is that a 3D of you?
No, that is an Aspen Models figure. I am dying to get to the fellow who does the 3D scans and put on my coveralls and get scanned, and so I can be working on my railroad.
Might happen at the Harrisburg show.
Oh, that was a good thought. I'll need to remember to bring my coveralls.
We'll confirm that.
Yeah, Les Davis.
Yeah.
Or are you coming to Amherst, Jeff?
No, as long as the weather is like it is, I'm pretty much occupied keeping our livestock fed and watered.
Gotcha. Yeah, because Bernard Helen at Mini Prints also does that stuff. So, in fact, I've been meaning to catch up with him. I was supposed to get mine done like last year before, and here we are.
Yeah. So I did come back from the micro layout show last weekend with 2 more figures to paint. They had done very nice 3D prints of railroad crewmen throwing switch stands, and 2 different styles of switch stand. One's a harp switch stand, and the other is the rotating lever type switch stand. But in each case, it's a figure operating the switch stand, and I'm going to work those into the layout.
Jeff, you might document that process, because I understand you learned a couple of techniques, Ian flangers. Yeah.
Ian has looked at my work. I have looked at his work, and they're not really in the same category. As you may recall, I developed a technique that enables you, and the fellow you see in the photograph there was painted using my technique, so he doesn't come out flat. He has light and dark features on his clothing, and I think he looks very acceptable on this kind of view. And so those 2 fellows, as I get down to painting them, I will photograph that.
Always more ways than one to paint a figure, that's for sure.
Well, you may recall my program on figures was how to paint figures for people who can't paint figures, and myself included. A very simplified technique that came up with a figure that I think is very presentable. The key being that it doesn't come out as one flat color. It has highlights and depth and gives you the appearance of, wrinkled clothing. And so I'm very happy with the figures I get from that, but would be embarrassed to put them side by side with Ian's.
Well, don't say that, but Ian is an artist too, so.
Yep.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff, for sharing. And now, all right, next up we have Gary Shergold. You up, Gary?
I'm here.
All righty. I tried to consolidate these down, but I came up with 18 slides. So there's a lot there. What you're about to see, the more you dig into it, the more detail it's there. It's just it's mind-boggling. So without further ado, this isn't your typical model railroad stuff, but you know what? It fits the categories otherwise.
You know what happened is I was doing an awful lot. I do quite a bit of modeling, railroad modeling, and every once in a while I will go into other type of modeling. And over the years, I collected 4 ship models, and they sat for quite a long time. So I figured I'm going to build them. And between the months of September, October, and November, these 4 models got built. Now this one here is the Titanic. It's a 350 gauge model. It's all plastic. It took an awful long time to build. There's very, very tiny detail, all the benches, all the boats, well, not all, because they didn't have enough. As you know, the history of the Titanic, they didn't have enough. But it turned out to be a very nice project. What I had done is all the portholes, or portal windows, they were all drilled out, and this model does light up. So when the lights are on, all the windows and all the portholes that are in the black area all shine through. The model is approximately 30 inches long, and as I said, it took quite a while to put together. I don't even know anything about the Titanic. When I built this model, I didn't realize it had 2 grand stairways. Always thought the Titanic only had 1, but there's actually 2 in there. And all the detail underneath those decks are detailed. But once you put the decks on, you don't see it. It's really a shame. Next slide.
Come on. Try it again. It's not wanting to cooperate. Hang on a minute.
The Titanic might sink.
Yeah, this is some a little bit of close-ups. I wish I could have. There we are. You can see the lifeboats, and they all are on those all the hooks and the rigging gear that comes with them. Sorry,
they're called davits.
Davits.
Yep, I spent 15 years in the Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Very good. And you can see the cranes. There's quite a few cranes on this vessel. One of the hardest things was putting the ladders. You see the ladders on the smokestacks, and that was very difficult to do. They're very tiny, and trying to get them the figures bent and then fitted into their proper positions. But as I say, building the model, it came together quite well. I was quite happy with the finished product. Next
Are those
slide.
photo etch?
No, it's all plastic.
All plastic. Wow.
Everything in there is plastic, except the rigging is not plastic. It's yeah, the whole model is completely plastic. Next slide. Yeah, now that's the stern. And you can see the number of cranes. I was quite surprised at the number of cranes. There was quite a lot of them. They had a number. Of course, they had the. You can see it on the bottom deck there. They had a lot of hatches that these cranes would lift up the tops, and then they put cargo on that down into the ship. Next slide.
Come on. There we go.
Yeah, just showing, looking down on the model. All the, like, when I was building the model, it called for thread to do all the rigging for the stacks. And the two yard irons that are on the front and the back. What I did, I swapped that out for very, very thin wire. The wire, it looks more authentic. With the thread, it was too loose and you couldn't get it tight enough to, or taut enough to make it look good. So I swapped that all out with wire. The radio aerial that runs between the two masts, that was done with thread and wire. It gives you a good idea. The bow of the boat, that's all done with actual chains. Next slide. Okay, this was an interesting project. This is I think it's the New York fireboat. And I did it up, and it's all plastic also. And believe it or not, this is HO scale. This boat's about 110 feet long. And the mast that you see was really the large water tower. That there was a lot of movable parts on this ship that I built. And that mast, when it's up, you'll see a photograph later. That goes 55 feet in the air. And it has a full crew. The cabin in the front, where they do the steering and everything, that's fully detailed. There's quite a lot of detail on this vessel. But that's showing the one side and then the other side. That was a fun project. Next slide. Here's a little bit of a close-up. See the tower laying down, the water cannons on there. There's quite a few of those. The life preservers, boats, rescue boats, and all the equipment that this ship would have used. Next slide. Just some more. There's the mast when it's up. As I say, it goes up and down. The water cannons turn. You can position them into different positions. What was really nice was the netting on the front of the boat. That was a lot of fun. I did a little bit of experimenting and painting to get it to look as good as, or as close to netting as I could. So that's a bunch of latex paint and washes and a little bit of staining, but that turned out quite well too. And I did put a Canadian flag on it. So, but when I was building the kit, well, when I got the kit, it said HO scale. When I opened it up to start building it, I was quite surprised and impressed of its size. Next slide. Yeah, a little bit of a close-up of the, you can see the main area where they steer the ship. There's stairways going to go up to all 3 levels. Radar. I'm not sure what those big gray things are, whether they're water containers, special chemicals, or what they would be. But the ship was built, spray painted, and it was a fun kit too. And another one showing the back area, the men with, you can see the hoses beside those gray tanks. On the ground, there's a guy kneeling there, wrapping them up, and a couple of guys doing some directions, one getting on ladder to get up to the upper level. Life preservers all around the boat. It's quite nice. Okay, then I got into building the tugboat. Now the tugboat is HO scale. It was also a fun project. It was plastic. It was spray painted using rattle can and spray gun. The letter S was a lot of fun to do. What I had done was I had painted it yellow, and then with a fine pen, black, highlighted the area between the red and the yellow so that it would stand out. It's all detailed inside too. And it's got the HO scale men throughout the thing, the rubber bumpers on the side that hang down. It was a fun kit, so I left the American flag on that one. Oh, and then we come to the Cutty Shark. The Cutty Shark was a restoration. A good friend of mine, I was visiting him here a while back and looking at his collection of railroad memorabilia. And he pointed to a box on the floor and said, "That's for you." And I said, "You got to be kidding." He said, "No, that's for you. Do it with it as you wish." So I took it home. All the masts were smashed. Some of the sails were broken. The front mast was totally destroyed. And it had about a 1/4 inch of dust on it. So you know how old it was. So what I did was I took a look at it, thought, okay. So I started cleaning. I took a small little paintbrush, some warm soapy water, and some Q-tips, and I started cleaning all the dust off it. Well, after about 10 tries of getting all the dust, I finally started to get through to some of the detail. So I just kept cleaning, and it took a really good cleaning. Rebuilt all the masts, and I didn't do all the rigging, but there was a lot of the rigging that had been cut loose, and some of the rigging wasn't proper on it. So what I did is I started to re-rig it. As I said, clean it. And there was a little bit of painting to do on it. And some of the broken pieces, what I had done was carefully taken the mast apart and put metal pins, drilled holes, and then glued them all back together. Next slide. There's some of the rigging that had been fixed on it. Some of the sails were ripped, and I was able to take them apart and get them glued back together. The sails themselves are actually plastic. The model itself is plastic with brass fittings and cannon. There's a brass cannon on there, a few brass details that make a ship look really good. Next slide. I think we got some close-up. Yeah, there's some of the close-ups. Now you can see the sails. Sails are pretty authentic looking. You can see some of the details, the cranes. I had to rebuild them, made them out of wire. Redid the anchors. They were broken. So they were fixed. New chains were put on. And on the back, again, some of the sails were broken off. So they were repaired, re-drilled, re-rigged, and put back on. Next slide, there we are. That's a top view looking down on her. She's actually sitting right over my head right now, like in my man cave, sitting here. But just gives you an idea of the rigging. Well, what is really fascinating about this boat is when I was a kid, I built this boat. And my sister got mad at me and smashed it. We had a bit of an argument. She went into my room and smashed it. And I never bought another one. So it was kind of ironic that later on in life, I would come back to the Gothic Sark. But,
Gary, can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Do you know if this one started out as the Revell kit?
This is a Revell kit.
Okay, because I remember building that as a kid too.
Yeah.
I didn't have any sister. I don't know what happened to it, but very, very nice job. I don't think either of ours came out that good when we built them as a kid.
Yeah, what was nice, the front end of where you see the three sails at the front end of the ship, that mast was totally destroyed. Like, I don't know. I just think whoever owned it, when you get a quarter inch of dust on something, it's been there a long time.
Yeah. Well, maybe they had a sister mad at them too.
It could have been.
What did you use for some of the repair? Did you have to just use styrene rod and stuff, or?
No, what I did was I was fortunate enough to have the rod that was there. What I did was I carefully took the rod out and drilled holes and then put wire pins in. And I was able to
for smokestacks. Yep.
Yeah, to take that and then what I did have to do on the front of the long mast that sticks out the front, I actually put a coupler. You can see just below the head sail. If you look at that little white dot that's on there and that little bulge, that's actually a coupler that I was able to slide both of those pieces in because I couldn't get the pin to work properly. And so this was my last boat project.
Nice job.
Yes. Yeah, it is a very impressive ship when you see it. The detail is quite quite beautiful on it.
And if
it's
I remember, that's 196 scale or something like that.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea at all. I know that the one that I built didn't have sails.
Ah.
This one came fully rigged.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
I think you're right, Greg, about the scale. It can be used for N scale.
really, I know it's quite like you can't see it, but just below just past the first mast, and between the first and second mast, there's a just underneath the bottom sail is a workbench with two work horses, a plank of wood, and there's a gentleman there with some saws and that. To me, it looked like HO, but it's probably between N scale and HO.
Yeah, that's right where 97th would fall.
Yeah, as I say, it's a very impressive. I'm really happy to get it.
And you have it flying the not the Union Jack, the Naval Jack, right?
Yeah, those were the flags that came with it. There's the I thought that was the Union Jack on the back, not the very back. On the third
At the
mast.
top of the aft mast.
Yeah, yes. I'm not a naval man, so I don't know the terms. But there's a little bit of a close up. You can see some of the detail. Now, as I say, when I got the ship, you couldn't see any of that deck. It was just dust. It had to be years and years and years of dust. Picture on the right shows the boats. Inside the lifeboats are all the paddles, little gears, or the little things that would be in there if the sailors had to get over the side in an emergency. I don't know if that's it or not, Greg.
There's a few more, I think.
Oh, there we are. Okay, that's a good close-up.
Yeah, I think the last ones actually in front of the outside of a house.
Yeah, that's those are the first ones I took that I was going to send in earlier, but so yeah, you can see the some of the riggings. I don't know what they're called, where the rope goes through the little pulleys and that, but all the pulleys are all there. Everything is all there. The flag on the back, I don't know if that's the English sailing flag, but most of this stuff, like the ladder or the stairway going up, it's all removable. It'll go up and down. It was all damaged. The boat itself had a lot of damage, but mainly the masts and some of the rigging on it. I don't know whether the rigging at one time had collapsed in, but it wasn't proper. So I redid not all of the rigging, but some of it. It's a very impressive model. Yeah, there's the front showing. I didn't get a picture of that that working area that was on the boat.
Thing I can't get over is the sails actually look like they have like
Wind.
they're actual material.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and when you look at it, like I'm looking at it now in my den, and it actually looks like cloth
Yeah.
But believe it or not, that's plastic.
I mean, they just did a mind-boggling job on this thing. This is, and then to
Yes.
have you come and restore it, that's as equally impressive.
Yes. Whoever built this, like there is a, you can see the wooden base. It was made. The base was made for it, and there is a little plaque on the front that says Cuddy Sark, but on the back there's a small plaque with initials, and I think it's the initials of the gentleman that built it. He obviously spent a lot of time building this. It's a very impressive model to see.
Hey, Gary,
Yes.
were those sails painted?
Not that I know of. Now they could have been, but when I look at them, if you can see the back of them, they're a little whiter than the front.
Mm-hmm.
So the sails may have come with that sort of that antique white color.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is I had taken these pictures back in late fall,
Mm-hmm.
and I had taken it outside because my sister-in-law wanted to send him to my brother-in-law, who's a seaman. He sailed, him and his wife sailed all over the world, and she wanted me to take these and send them to him, or she sent them to him. So I sent these in just to give you can get like a really good view of the size of this thing. It's about, probably 2 feet high at the highest point of the mast. And it's got to be at least 36 inches long.
Once you get all the dust off, you really notice the.
Well, what was impressive is once the dust was off, the detail of the decking, it's all the wood grain and everything is there. It is quite impressive.
Fantastic.
I went online. You can still buy this model. If you go online, the model is still available.
Alrighty. Thanks for sharing, Gary.
Yeah, a little different, Craig, than model railroading, but
yep. Yeah,
as I say, I model and I just get a breakaway once in a while, do something else.
Yeah, kind of part of the MyBuild, the design behind it is to kind of take you out of your comfort zone every once in a while. So
right,
you definitely check that block, and this is some impressive stuff, Gary. This is something to be proud of.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Gary? Alrighty, and I think the last one we have up is Bill Stimson. Yep, Bill, I saw you earlier.
Sure, you make me follow that.
Sorry. Looks like you've got 7 slides tonight.
All right. This is an N-scale model of a building off of George Celios's layout. He called it El Pico. I decided I wanted to build that model, so I took a bunch of the pictures that were available for it, and I built the best I could with it. You can see the penny next to it, so you get some idea of the size. The windows are actually individual windows that I had to cut the sides off to splice together. I didn't have anything that had 6 windows of the right type together. And then the doors are scratch built. Everything else is scratch built. And I found this American Licorice Company sign online and set it up over the door. George called it El Picos. Next slide. I think there's a couple more pictures of it. There you go.
Yep. See the roof there, the overhang roof.
Yep. Next slide. Oh, now we're into, this is a scratch build of a building that was in Jerome, Arizona. It's a blacksmith shop in one of the touristy places in Jerome. And I took some pictures of it and really enjoyed thought the building looked really neat, so I decided to go ahead and build it. This building has been around. I originally built it a year and a half ago, give or take, and it's completely scratch built. I think I have some tissue windows in it, and that's about it. Next slide should be the side of it. Yeah, my little shed addition isn't quite, maybe looks like it's been moved by the wind a little bit. Next slide. And there's the other side. Those are tissue windows in this case. Next slide. This is a model I found at a swap meet last fall. It's American Model Builders, and this is a rooming house. It was these supports for the stairs, and the stairs were interesting to build. They're very small pieces in N scale. Next slide. There you can see next to the penny how big this thing is, or not big, depending on your... Next slide, or is that the last one?
Yeah, that's the last one.
Okay.
That's it's quite a building there. Alrighty. Oh, thanks for sharing, Bill. Are there any questions for Bill?
Oh, and Greg,
Bill,
there is no
is
such
that
thing as too many N scale kits.
Working on some more. Well, one of these days I'll get an N scale kit built up. Just a matter of getting the windows and all that's dimensionally correct. But anyway. All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Bill. Oh, were there any questions for Bill?
is that a tar paper roof, Bill?
Yes. Those are little strips of, I think they're like not Post-it, but the strips you peel off, and like mailing strips and stuff that you peel off address labels and stuff like that. Because they have adhesive on the bottom of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. All right. Any more questions? All right. Well, thanks. Thanks, Bill, and everyone for sharing tonight. Next month is a My Build Challenge, which is kit bashes and scratch builds. That'll be February 26th. To email or to participate, please email me at railrunner130@hotmail.com. And please get those to me by the 23rd so I can get them all in a good slideshow and get them all put together. And we'll get the new format going next month. But anyway, thanks everyone for participating. This stuff, as it always comes out fantastic, and we always learn something from it. And in some cases, like we saw tonight, take us out of our comfort zone and really kind of wow us a little bit. So moving on, looking a little bit towards the future. The challenge shows, or the upcoming My Builds, March 26th will be a free-for-all, anything goes. April is the automation, animation, make it move, that sort of thing. And then back into May, we'll do the free-for-all with anything goes. And around that same time, the May-June timeframe, we'll have another not another contest, but we'll have a vote to see what the challenges will be for next year. I think that worked well this year, and hopefully we can keep that going. So if you have ideas for what you would like to see in the My Builds for a challenge, please email those to me, and I'll compile them, and we'll put it all up to a vote. But looking further ahead into June, it'll be water and waterfront buildings, wharves, boats, covered bridges, water tanks, anything water related. And of course, anything you can think of that could possibly fit into any of these categories, we'll welcome, and we'll show those. So with that being said, you can see me at, if you guys are going to Amherst this weekend, I will be in section 47 of the Better Living Center. And also tomorrow, I'm supposed to be doing just giving a slide presentation at 4:00, and I think that's at the Marriott. And the subject will be it'll be going over the trip that I went through in August, kind of retracing where the White River Railroad went in Vermont, and kind of showing what it was and what's left of it. And then on Friday morning, bright and early at the same venue, will be a make and take clinic. You can find access to those clinics through the Amherst website. So anyway, I hope to see everybody there. Please stop by the booth if you're in town, and I'll turn it back over to you, Tom.
I want to thank you, Chris. Great job. Very interesting program this evening. A lot of interesting models. That ship was outstanding. I remember selling that ship, the best job I ever had when I worked in a hobby shop. I believe that's the old Ravel kit, the Cuddy Sark, and I remember the kit well. I remember the box was huge, and to see it built so many years later is terrific. Great show, and lets everybody get their photos in early this time. Actually, we'll advertise the show up and to the point, get you some broader participation. Well, before my voice gives out, I want to give a little teaser for next week's show. Steve, this past weekend, I attended Steve Sherrill's Micro Madness show in Ranson, West Virginia. Little micro layout meet that had about 60 people and about 25 different micro layouts. And it was a first time event. And Steve will have give you an overview of it next week. I think you're going to find that very interesting. Great modeling, great times, great COVID. I'm the only one that got COVID. So to close the show, we have a tradition where we have a closing prayer with Father Ron, and then we're going to have the Caboose, and the Caboose will feature yet another layout from the Pittsburgh Narrow Gauge Convention this past summer. It's on the modular room, so this video will feature layouts that were on site, brought by the participants. Phil will narrate it, and thank you for attending the show, and turn it over to Father Ron.
I hope you get better, Tom. I've had COVID 3 times, so I kind of know what you're going through.
My
we'll
fifth
keep you in prayer.
5 times.
Master maker of the universe, our scale models imitate your creative spirit, and we learn the genius of your handiwork. Teach us to appreciate all you have made. Bless the work of our hands. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ron. Phil, if you could close the show with the Caboose.
So there's a fairly long caboose here, but it's basically a wander around the modular room. And if you recognize the layout, feel free to talk about it. A lot of these I think people have seen before maybe, but we'll go ahead and go through it. It starts with the main 2-foot gaugers. So we will start with that. I think there were about 10 different modular layouts at the convention, so it was quite well participated. Even some micro layouts, or mini anyway.
This last group is all the East Broad Top Railroad, and these structures are amazingly authentic reproductions of the original structures.
You have to have one pink foam module. It's a mandatory.
This layout has some excellent structures.
Yeah, there was some pretty outstanding modeling in the on these modular layouts.
I remember this one specifically. Standing model color. It's a Frenchman River Model Works resin kit there. Well, that, my friends, concludes the show. Excellent video, Phil, and we'll see you all next week. Really appreciate your participation. I want to thank the crew, Phil, Pat, Jeff, everyone else. And have a great rest of the week.